Well, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Jeff Acker. I'm the proud mayor of the city of Spruce Grove, and I want to welcome everyone here for an exciting announcement that will be, I think, exciting to hear from most Albertans. You know, when we look at automated traffic enforcement, it's a divisive issue that many of our residents in our communities often reach out to us through social media or directly. And I just want to commend the province for reaching out to us as municipalities to share our details, share our data, to prove where ATE plays a role in the safety of our communities. So I just thank you very much, Minister, for that. It gives me great pleasure to announce and introduce the Minister of Transportation and Economic Corridors, Mr. Devin Dreeshen, and he is here to make an exciting announcement. So thank you.
Well, thank you so much, Mayor Acker. It's great to see you again. I know it's been quite some time, and thank you everybody for being here at this very exciting announcement. Today we're here to discuss the future of photo radar in Alberta. And as municipalities have employed automatic traffic enforcement technology, also known as photo radar, for more than 30 years here in the province of Alberta. And during that time, as Mayor Acker pointed out, it has been a very divisive policy for many Alberta drivers. Now, some Albertans believe that municipalities operate photo radar solely to generate revenue and is not for the improvement of traffic safety. Actually, a recent leisure survey of Albertans found that 60% of Albertans surveyed believe photo radar is primarily focused on revenue generation. And that same survey found 73% of Albertans said photo radar did not actually improve their driving habits. So there's a lot of concern over fishing holes that we've heard from Albertans. Spots essentially that municipalities know can generate lots of ticket revenue without actually improving traffic safety. Now, over the years, our government has made several changes to automated traffic enforcement. We've instituted a freeze since 2019 for municipalities to purchase new equipment and to list new sites. Now, since then, we've now had years worth of data to review, and we have come to the conclusion that some photo radar sites are indeed designed to generate revenue, not to improve safety. So this single site here at Ray Gibbons Drive is one of these fishing holes in particular. So when you look behind me, there's about 1,500 tickets that get issued here on a quarterly basis, about every 3 months, that generate about $200,000 worth of revenue. So in about 1 year here just outside of Edmonton, they'll have $1 million worth of photo radar tickets. Now, that's about 11 times the average site compared in the city of Edmonton. And there are other fishing holes along the Edmonton and Calgary ring roads, so on Stony Trail and Anthony Henday. Now, these sites are focused on revenue generation rather than traffic safety, and so let me be perfectly clear, this will end here in the province of Alberta. So that's the primary announcement here today, is that people will know that photo radar continuing will only be used for safety here in Alberta, not to generate millions of dollars for the 26 municipalities that currently allow photo radar. So that's why we're banning the use of photo radar on our provincial ring roads, and will put an end to these fishing holes. So we are extending the current cap of new photo radar equipment and locations until December of next year. And our government does recognize that photo radar can improve traffic safety. So that is why we are allowing photo radar sites from these ring roads to be repositioned within the cities of Edmonton and Calgary to improve pedestrian safety and sensitive areas within Edmonton and Calgary. So the options that they will have, there'll be 22 new sites in Edmonton, or possibility of 22 new sites here in Edmonton, and 8 in Calgary that could go to new school zones, playground zones, and construction zones. So that, the redeploying of photo radar to these areas will help people slow down and protect vulnerable Albertans, pedestrians, and workers. So over the next year, the Ministry of Transportation and Economic Corridors and Public Safety and Emergency Services will engage with 26 municipalities that use photo radar and law enforcement to get rid of every fishing hole in the province of Alberta. and to make sure that photo radar is focused on safety and not revenue generation. So I want Albertans to know that I am committed to ensuring that photo radar fishing holes will end here in Alberta, and that Alberta's government will ensure a safer, more efficient, vehicle-friendly network in the province. Now, we've recently removed GDL restrictions on over 500,000 Alberta licenses, or young Alberta drivers. And there's more to come from the Department of Transportation and Economic Corridors to support drivers from every corner of our beautiful province. And with that, I'm happy to introduce Kara Westerlund. Kara is the RMA Vice President and is a councillor with Brazeau County. She also represents the RMA on several committees, including the Alert Civilian Advisory Committee, as well as the Vice Chair of the Interim Alberta Police Advisory Board. So with that, happy to introduce Kara up to give some remarks as well.
Well, good afternoon. I'd like to thank Minister Dreeshen for inviting me today. Traffic safety is a critical issue as our province continues to grow, both in cities and in our rural communities. While photo radar is a tool that is most commonly used in large urban centers, it does play a role in rural areas as well. The Minister's announcement today will go a long ways towards ensuring that photo radar is deployed across the province in a way that prioritizes traffic safety and discourages municipalities from deploying as a cash cow in areas with limited safety risks. I can certainly appreciate that municipalities across the province are struggling to cover policing costs, but using photo radar strictly as a revenue generation tool is not the solution to that issue. RMA looks forward to engaging with the GOA and other municipalities and stakeholders to come up with an approach to deploying photo radar that ensures it contributes to making dangerous or high-risk roads safer. These high-risk areas will probably look different in urban and rural areas, so our hope is that the engagement results in an approach that guides municipalities to properly utilize photo radar while ensuring that they have the ability to determine those high-risk areas. Again, I would wish to thank the Minister both for the invite and for the action that he is taking today in enhancing the safety of our roads here in Alberta. Thank you, and I will now introduce Deputy Mayor Karen Principe with the City of Edmonton.
Thank you, Kara. Photo radar is about keeping people safe, not money. It is one tool that the City of Edmonton uses to protect people on the roads. Focusing on highly sensitive areas like school zones, construction zones, should keep those who visit, work, and live in Edmonton safe. We will continue to engage with the Government of Alberta and law enforcement to ensure that we are achieving the intended outcome of making our roads safer. Thank you very much.
Okay, and with that, we're going to have some time for questions from the media. So we're going to do one question, one follow-up, and we're going to start with whoever's at the mic first. Please introduce yourself.
Yeah, it's Jeremy Thompson with the CTV Edmonton here. Minister, it was just a big topic of conversation at City Council yesterday as they're talking about their budget. One councillor, Joanne Wright, has had some specific issues in her ward, sort of southeast Edmonton, with speeding, collisions. She says there's been 5 fatalities, traffic fatalities in the last year, kind of on 17th Street there. She was hoping for maybe some photo radar to sort of be part of that, as you say, safety solution in that part of town. She also says she's been trying to get a meeting with you for like a year and a half, and it hasn't happened yet. So I guess, what can you say to folks in southeast Edmonton who might have been sort of looking for photo radar as an element of safety improvement?
Sure. No, thanks, Jeremy, for that question. And as I said, the 22 ring road locations that are being removed as of December 1st this year, those 22 can now go to the City of Edmonton where they can deploy them in sensitive areas. So if there are collision areas or areas where they think and we think that photo radar would actually reduce collisions and accidents, is something that we'll obviously now be engaging with our primary goal is to ensure that sensitive areas such as school zones, playground zones, construction zones, that is where the new focus of photo radar will be. When it comes to road and traffic safety, there's lots of other tools other than photo radar that can be deployed, whether that's signage, speed limit changes. So there's lots of tools in the toolbox. But yeah, happy to engage with all Edmonton and Calgary councillors and councillors all across the province to make sure that we can make sure our road network, whether it's a provincial highway or within municipal limits, is safe.
So I guess is this reallocation of these 22, I guess, fishing hole photo radar locations, as you describe them, is that sort of restricted to playground zones, school zones, construction sites, or might the city have some leeway as far as where they might redistribute these things?
It's our intention for this 1 year consultation phase to be able to focus on those three areas, those sensitive areas. So the 22 that are from here in Edmonton that going within the city, kind of outside of that consultation, is we want to make sure that it goes to those three locations, those three types of locations. But as we engage with each of the 26 municipalities when it comes to where we should have photo radar, we will be looking at traffic data, stats, accidents, to make sure that if photo radar, even though it may be outside of a sensitive area, is having an impact in safety, a positive impact in safety, then it could remain. But we're going to be painstakingly going through the 2,400 photo radar sites within these 26 municipalities to figure out where they ought to be and to remove the fishing holes where they are.
Okay, and do we have someone else up at the mic?
Hi there, it's Cabby right there with Global News. So I guess the first question is, now that some of these photo radar sites will be redistributed based on where cities want to place them. So what are we ensuring now to make sure traffic safety is still a priority, I guess, in terms on ring roads?
Yeah, obviously there's still speed limits on the ring roads, so obviously that remains. And when it comes to traditional enforcement of speed limits on the ring roads is paramount. It's still there. It still will be deployed. So, but yeah, great question. But that's going to be the negotiation with the municipalities now going forward within this 1 year period of figuring out where photo radar should be, and with the ultimate intention to make sure that fishing holes are removed in the province.
Okay. I guess my follow-up question would be about while there were some freezes in place the province to collect some data. I know you talked about this specific location and some of the findings there in terms of the number of tickets and whatnot. But overall, can you give us a general sense of what you found in terms of some of the other locations, and when we'll be getting a full list of that data?
So back in 2018, the government of Alberta did a study on an 8-year period within the province to figure out collision rates, accident rates. And in that study, it found there was, on average, about 1.4% accident reduction in locations with photo radar versus without photo radar. So that was a comprehensive 8-year study, or a study of 8 years worth of data in the province. Since that 2018 report, as you mentioned, there's been freezes on new photo radar locations, also with municipalities sending in collision reports, data reports, ticket reports of those 2,400 current photo radar locations. So there's a tremendous amount of data that we have to look at when we make these decisions, and that'll be part of the negotiations with the municipalities going forward over the next year.
So at this point, that won't be provided at any point, or?
The 2018 study is public. We're happy to share that. And then as we go through, and I believe the stats from municipalities are also public when it comes to photo radar data. So
sorry, just so was there any new data that was collected during the freeze at all, or sorry, am I just confused here, or what's going on?
Every year there's new sets of data that comes in during the freeze years that we've been having on photo radar.
Okay, so I guess anything from post 2018, will that be shared, or?
Yep, that's as I said, it's I believe it's all publicly available. But yeah, you bet.
Okay, and operator, we're now moved to questions from the phone line. So can you please put through the first caller?
Thank you, Lisa Johnson, Post Media.
Hi, thanks for taking my question. Back in 2019, when the freeze was first put into effect on new photo radar units, the revenue proportions were changed. So the province's share of photo radar revenue went to 40% from 27%, was my understanding. What is the proportion of that photo radar revenue now between municipalities and the province, and will that change with today's announcement?
Thanks, Lisa, for that question. The ratio will stay the same, so that 40-60 ratio will remain as we go through this review process of removing fishing holes in the province.
And Lisa, do you have a follow-up question?
Yeah, thanks for that. And just to follow up on one of the previous questions there, we had an announcement in late 2021 when Rajan Sani said the province was going to collect data about speed rates and weather conditions, site locations, frequency of tickets being issued, and look at the guidelines. So, now we're going on 4 years of this data being collected. Will the provincial data be released publicly? Why or why not? And isn't this new consultation, this year-long consultation you're announcing today, isn't this redundant? Like, what are you hoping to learn from another consultation that this previous data didn't provide?
Yeah, no, the data will all be public. I guess with the thought process of rather than picking and choosing where and where not municipalities can put photo radar, we wanted to be able to work with municipalities, because I think the definition of a fishing hole is going to be the ongoing consultation that we have, because there will be some that will say a high frequency area of speeding is obviously should be justified of having a photo radar, and then others will say, well, maybe the speed limit isn't right, or maybe that is actually a fishing hole, and people keeping up with a consistent flow of traffic is safer than slamming on their brakes because of photo radar. So that ongoing consultation will be probably the most amount of the work that's going to happen with municipalities over the next year, is defining truly what is a fishing hole.
Okay, and we have time for one more question, so operator, can you put through one more caller, please?
Thank you. Yes, Keith Drine, Edmonton Journal.
Hi there. Thanks for taking my question for the minister. I'm going to ask a bit of a radical question, I guess, and it's this. Why is the province setting policy on photo radar at all, and especially to a degree that frankly feels a bit like micromanaging? And this was the NDP government as well as your government. But why not leave cities and towns to decide for themselves how to manage this and leave the accountability with their voters? Why is it appropriate for the province to get involved to this degree at all?
Well, thanks, Keith. I wouldn't say that's a radical question. Obviously, we, as a provincial government, work with our municipalities. Municipalities are creatures of the province, and this ring road right here is actually owned by the province. So there's only, when it comes to Albertans, the 3 million plus Alberta drivers are on our provincial highway networks as well as our municipalities. So we want to make sure that we see eye to eye as much as we can when it comes to traffic safety, and because obviously they are integrated, the municipalities and our provincial road network.
Okay, and we do have time
for... Thank you. No follow-up.
We do have time for one more, so if there's one more question, please put them through.
Thank you, Michelle Belfontaine, CBC.
Yeah, thank you for taking my question. Minister, you said that you really want to define what a fishing hole is. Is that something that you can actually define? I think that there might be a difference in opinion on that. Like, people might say that, well, maybe it's an area where there's a lot of infractions. So I'm wondering, how are you going to empirically measure this?
So the empirical measurement on a photo radar site or location, and is it a fishing hole or not a fishing hole, ought to be about safety. And if you can point to an area or a site where there's a lot of accidents, there's a lot of collisions, it's an unsafe area, which there are unsafe areas on municipal roads and provincial roads that are at a higher degree of accidents, more attention should be put on those areas. But when you have certain beautiful highways that are built very, very well and engineered very well, and you're not seeing any accident data or low accident data, but yet hundreds of thousands of dollars of ticket revenue, that I think in most people's mind is a fishing hole. So that's going to be kind of that will be the main focus of this 1 year review with municipalities.
Okay, and Michelle, do you have a follow-up question?
Yeah, but I'm puzzled by that. So if you're saying that people are, say, for example, getting photo radar tickets, that implies that they're speeding. So aren't people supposed to obey the speeding, like the speed limit in this province?
Yes, as Minister of Transportation and Economic Corridors, everybody should be following the speed limits that are set out. But when it comes to the use of photo radar, we want to make sure that it is primarily on traffic safety. And that will be the intent going forward, that if there's accidents or collisions, that's where photo radar is being used, and not just for speed, but also for red light cameras as well. They actually stop the types of accidents, T-boning, collisions, which have a lot more fatalities as well. So red light cameras, that's being unchanged throughout this process. This in going through this fishing hole process is to make sure that speed photo radar gets reined in and puts Alberta kind of closer to other provinces when it comes to the use of photo radar.
Okay, thank you everyone, and with that ends our announcement today. Have a great rest of your day.
Thanks everyone for coming. Appreciate it.